Today we're exposing 5 olive oils that are robbing you blind in the UK, and 5 that are actually worth the money. Olive oil is one of the most abused categories on supermarket shelves. Labels, origin claims and price tags do a lot of work before the bottle is ever opened. Some of the most familiar names are built for scale, not quality, while better oils quietly deliver freshness and flavour without looking impressive. We're going to break down which olive oils are all branding and which ones actually earn their place in your kitchen. Subscribe now and let's start. Number 5, Pompeian Extra Virgin Olive Oil. This is a brand associated with vague multi-country sourcing and industrial scale production, and on paper that already tells you the priority. Volume first, freshness second. Olive oil is fragile. From the moment it's pressed, the clock is running, and long, complex supply chains mean that by the time this bottle is opened, much of what made the oil valuable in the first place has already slipped away. What makes this worse is how the brand frames freshness. Pompeian leans on best by dates instead of the one detail that actually matters: the harvest date. A best by date tells you how long a product can sit on a shelf. A harvest date tells you how fresh it ever was. That difference shows up in the glass. That's why taste tests and complaints are so consistent. The recurring theme is blandness. Oil that barely tastes like olives at all, with some reports pointing to flat or oxidized bottles that fall short of what extra virgin should be. Pompeian ends up proving a hard lesson in this category. Bigger, older, and more familiar doesn't mean safer. It usually just means you're paying for scale while freshness quietly slips away. Number 4, Asda Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Asda's own brand bottle sits in that familiar supermarket zone where the price feels like a bargain, the packaging looks clean, and words like pure and extra virgin do most of the persuasion for you. It feels practical, sensible, like something you don't need to question. That's exactly the problem. When you cook with bland industrial oil long enough, your expectations quietly reset. You start to think olive oil is just a greasy cooking liquid, something that carries heat, not flavour. No aroma, no bite, no personality, just background fat. Then you pour a real extra virgin one day and it shocks you. It's peppery, slightly bitter, fruity, alive. It grabs the back of your throat and actually announces itself in the dish. That moment is when you realise what's been missing, and that's the theft. These supermarket oils are repeatedly described as flat, oxidized or dull, lacking the compounds and freshness people associate with high-quality extra virgin in the first place. They're built to be inoffensive, shelf-stable and cheap to produce, not expressive or vibrant. Some independent testing reports have even raised concerns about traces of refined oils or seed oils mixed in, not because it improves the food, but because it stretches supply and protects margins. So Asda doesn't just sell a weak bottle, it sells a baseline of mediocrity and relies on the fact that most people won't realize how much better olive oil is supposed to be. Number 3, Tesco Extra Virgin Olive Oil. It's convenient, it's affordable, and it carries the quiet authority of a supermarket giant. Surely a company this big wouldn't label something extra virgin if it wasn't. That assumption is doing most of the work here. Supermarket-owned brands are built around price competition first. That means the oil is sourced from wherever it's cheapest at the time, often across multiple countries, then blended in bulk to hit a consistent flavour that won't surprise anyone. Consistency matters more than character. Shelf life matters more than freshness. And that's where the pattern shows up. Across multiple independent testing narratives, a significant percentage of imported oils labelled extra virgin have failed to meet chemical or sensory standards. Supermarket-owned brand bottles, not just Tesco's, but across markets, appear frequently in that category. This isn't a conspiracy, it's incentives. And if the goal is a cheap bottle that tastes the same every time, you don't build the process around peak harvest timing, careful storage and rapid bottling. You build it around shelf stability, long transport windows and a flavour profile so mild that nobody complains. The quiet robbery here is subtle, but effective. Tesco's bottle asks you to pay for a category it may not actually meet, and it relies on the fact that most consumers don't have the tools or the reference point to challenge that claim. You trust the label, cook with it, and assume that olive oil just doesn't taste like much. That's how mediocrity passes as normal, and how value quietly slips away. Number 2, Napolina extra virgin olive oil. This one has been sitting in British kitchens for generations, and that familiarity is the hook. It's the bottle people reach for when they want something that feels Mediterranean and dependable without thinking too hard. It's inherited trust, passed down quietly through habit. But once you slow down and look at it, the pattern becomes familiar. Another Italian-sounding name, another dark green bottle, another promise built more on atmosphere than on verifiable transparency. The branding does the reassurance for you, so the label doesn't have to explain much. Napolina is typically described as multi-country sourced, bulk blended, and produced at a scale where consistency matters more than freshness. That means olives from different regions harvested at different times, blended together to hit a safe, neutral profile that works for mass distribution. The problem is that olive oil is not built for that kind of journey. In independent testing narratives and consumer reports, it's been flagged for the classic problem cluster: oxidation, rancidity, and failure to meet the sensory profile that defines true extra virgin. Some tests even suggest the presence of refined oils or seed oil contamination, not to improve flavor, but to stabilize and stretch the product. And people buy this bottle assuming they're getting antioxidants, polyphenols, and that fresh olive bite everyone talks about. But if the oil is already oxidized or heavily processed, those benefits fade long before it reaches your plate. The taste tells on it. Flat, dull, sometimes waxy, and the health halo disappears with it. Napolina doesn't just trade on flavor expectations, it trades on memory. And that's why it lands this high on the list. Number 1, Filippo Berio Extra Virgin Olive Oil. This is the biggest name in the category, and that scale is exactly the problem. Filippo Berio is widely described as mass-produced industrial olive oil owned by a large processing company operating at volumes that have nothing to do with small groves or harvest season care. This is global manufacturing, not farm-level precision. Multi-country oils are blended in factories, bottled in industrial plants, and shipped worldwide as a uniform product. At that scale, freshness takes a back seat to consistency, and olive oil suffers when timing matters less than shelf stability. Instead of preventing defects through careful harvesting and rapid pressing, large systems often manage problems after the fact through blending, refining, and deodorizing, processes that shouldn't be necessary in true extra virgin oil. Over time, multiple independent tests have reported that mass-market extra virgin oils, including major brands like Filippo Berio, failed to meet required chemical or sensory standards. A widely cited 2015 test by a German consumer group reportedly found the oil heavily oxidized and below quality thresholds. That's why this takes the number 1 spot. Not because every bottle is undrinkable, but because the label asks for trust without offering transparency. And in olive oil, that's the most expensive mistake you can make. Now, after all that, you're probably thinking, okay, so what do I buy then? Because yes, fraud in this category is real, and it's getting worse. Reports of olive oil fraud have surged in recent years, and investigations suggest that a shocking amount of oil marketed as Italian never even touched Italian soil. That's the environment we're shopping in. But it's not hopeless. There are bottles that do things the right way: transparent sourcing, real freshness, and oil that actually tastes alive. Here are 5 olive oils in the UK that genuinely earn their place in your kitchen. Number 5, Terra Delyssa. You've almost definitely walked past this one while it's sitting right there at Morrison's, Tesco and Sainsbury's, quietly doing its thing without shouting for attention. At around £7 for 500 millilitres, and sometimes closer to £5 when the organic version is on promotion, it already undercuts a lot of bottles that promise far less. What makes it different is transparency. The bottle carries a QR code you can scan right there in the aisle, showing the actual grove, the harvest date, and when the oil was bottled. That's not marketing flair. That's real traceability. Terra Delyssa is single origin Tunisian, and that matters. Tunisia hasn't been hit by the same large-scale fraud scandals that plague other regions. And just as importantly, this producer controls the supply chain from grove to bottle. No anonymous middlemen. No bulk blending after the fact. The oil also checks the practical boxes that actually protect quality. Dark glass, clear origin, harvest transparency, and independent validation with a gold medal from the London International Olive Oil Competition. This isn't a flashy upgrade. It's a reliable exit ramp from the fraud zone into something you can trust. Number 4, Waitrose number 1 Valley Trapani PDO. If you shop at Waitrose and want something genuinely premium without ordering online or decoding boutique labels, this is the bottle to reach for. The key here is the PDO designation, Protected Designation of Origin, which is a legally enforced EU certification, not a marketing phrase. That PDO stamp means the olives were grown, pressed and packaged in the Trapani Valley of Sicily under strict regional rules. You're paying around £14.50 for 500 millilitres, but what you're buying is provenance that can actually be verified. The oil is made from traditional Sicilian varieties and arrives unfiltered, which is why you'll see that natural cloudiness, a sign of minimal processing rather than a defect. It's cold-pressed using mechanical extraction, the opposite of the industrial shortcuts that flatten flavour. Taste-wise, this is where people have that recalibration moment. Fruity aromatics, a peppery kick, and notes often described as green apple and fresh tomato. It tastes alive, and the fact that this stands out so clearly says a lot about how many bottles have been sold as extra virgin while delivering almost nothing at all. Number 3. Belazu Early Harvest. Belazu is known for supplying restaurants across Britain, and that detail matters more than it sounds. Professional kitchens don't buy oils for branding or sentiment. They buy what performs consistently under heat, on the plate, and across service after service. The fact that Belazu shows up there tells you this isn't just marketing noise. You can find it at Tesco, Waitrose, Ocado, Amazon, and Direct, which makes it one of the easiest genuine upgrades available without hunting specialty shops or paying import premiums. At around £13.50 for 500 millilitres, it sits in that rare middle ground where the price still feels accessible, but the quality clearly steps up. The value comes from what early harvest actually means. Olives are picked green before full ripening. That reduces yield, which is why many producers avoid it, but it dramatically increases freshness, complexity, and antioxidant content. The oil tastes alive. Fresh grass and cracked pepper come first, followed by almond and banana, then a gentle bitterness that builds instead of collapsing into grease. Belazu also carries B Corp certification, which matters if you care about ethical claims being independently audited rather than just printed on the label. The honest caveat is intensity. If your palate has been trained on bland oil, this can taste almost confrontational at first. Give it a week. Once your tongue recalibrates, it becomes hard to go back. Number 2, liquid gold. Liquid gold is built around measurable proof, not suggestion. The label states 524 milligrams of polyphenol per kilogram, which is more than double the threshold required to make an official EU health claim. That alone separates it from most bottles on supermarket shelves, which ask you to trust the label without showing the data. This oil is designed for people who treat olive oil as preventative nutrition, not just cooking fat. The brand is described as founded by a former neurologist turned olive oil sommelier, which explains the fixation on lab results, acidity levels, and documented potency rather than romantic storytelling. You can order it online or through Amazon UK, and there's even a physical shop in Richmond upon Thames if you're in London. The price is where people hesitate, around £25 for 500 millilitres. Though subscriptions can bring it closer to £15, that sticker shock disappears once you realise how different this product is from bulk blended oil. Acidity is listed at 0.15%, which signals exceptional handling from tree to bottle. Nothing here is vague, nothing is implied. This isn't a casual Tesco grab, it's a deliberate choice. But if your priority is health-driven potency with verifiable numbers, this is one of the clearest, most transparent options available. Number 1, Finca Torre. Finca Torre earns the top spot because it removes shortcuts. This oil has received a perfect 100 out of 100 score from a major international olive oil publication and has won the International Olive Council's highest honour multiple times. That kind of consistency doesn't happen by accident. It comes from a single estate in Malaga with around 34,000 olive trees, some planted in the 1800s, producing roughly 60,000 litres per year. That scale isn't about volume, it's about control. Every olive reaches the mill within 1 hour of picking. When handling is that tight, defects never need to be hidden later. Polyphenol levels reach around 1,027 milligrams per kilogram, alongside organic and biodynamic certification. In the UK, prices range from £32 to £45 for 500 millilitres, and availability is limited to each harvest. When it sells out, you wait. The taste backs it up. Vivid green aromas, layers of almond, apple, rocket and pepper, and a finish that lingers. This isn't just a great bottle, it's the reference point everything else gets measured against. The olive oil reality check. So now you've got the real map. And notice how none of this came down to chasing the most expensive bottle on the shelf. The pattern is simpler than that. The oils that fail tend to hide behind vagueness, while the ones that succeed are specific, boringly transparent, and consistent over time. That's not romance, that's reliability. Once you see the difference, it's hard to unsee it. The goal isn't perfection or luxury. It's avoiding oils that collapse the moment they hit heat or disappear entirely once they touch food. When olive oil is right, it doesn't hide. It shows up. Here's the cheat code worth remembering. If a bottle won't tell you when the olives were harvested, ask yourself what it's hiding. Harvest dates matter more than best by dates. Dark glass or tins matter because light destroys oil fast. Specific origin matters because vague phrases like Mediterranean blend can mean almost anything and usually mean nothing useful. Your senses matter too. Real extra virgin olive oil should smell fresh and green, and it should taste vibrant, peppery, and slightly bitter. That bite isn't a flaw, it's proof of life. If an oil tastes flat, greasy, or like nothing at all, something is wrong, no matter what the label claims. That's how you protect yourself in this category, not by price, not by branding, but by freshness, transparency, and repeat use. Drop a comment with your go-to olive oil and how you use it. Salad finisher, pan cooker, bread dipper, or purely for the health benefits. And let me know. What surprised you more? The worst offenders, or the bottles that proved you can still buy the real thing?